The Blocktalk podcast started because of my passion for the property management industry. I wanted to start a conversation and add some value within the industry with a diverse range of people and professionals who can add something extra. As we start out, my aim is that the podcast offers some useful insight into a variety of views, opinions, thoughts, and foresights from our guests, who include business leaders and industry experts. If you enjoy the podcast and want to find out any other information, head on over to bryanwelsh.co.uk. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blocktalk podcast with me, Bryan Welsh, and Jax Bruce. Today we are pleased to welcome Bryan McManus onto the podcast. Bryan is an executive director at Speirs Gumley and has been with the company since 1996. He was previously vice president of the PMAS and served on the council for over 10 years, predominantly involved in education training. I think I've known Bryan probably since 1998, actually. So hello, Bryan. Good to have you on. Thanks for coming. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, and thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to it since I was invited, because I haven't seen you for a while.
And you're not seeing me on this either.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a bit of a disappointment. Yeah, sorry about that. So let's talk about this first of all. Can we talk about the photographs of you and the team on the Speirs Gumley About page?
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Tell me what it is behind all of those photographs. Because they're not your normal corporate photos on a website, are they?
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of them. So, what do you think of them? What's your reaction when you see them?
I love them. I think they're very quirky.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's very similar to the feedback we always get about it. And as much as these ones are, obviously we revamped the website. I think last year we relaunched this one. But even previous to that, the previous website, all the About Us photos and the sort of meet the team photos were a wee bit different. With staff who, I think Ian was in reception, kind of putting a golf ball. We had, a few other sort of quirky things as well. And it was, again, the whole focus of this is to show that, we're not just a kind of faceless company. We do have personalities, and we want to do something a wee bit different. But on top of that, they are a real talking point. And it seems, you do analytics on your website and stuff, and those photos are the ones that are the most visited, so they seem to be working, which is good. And it's good fun doing them, which is the company we deal with and have dealt with for a very long time. They come up with some weird and wonderful ideas, and the good thing is there's always sort of buy-in from folk. Then they tell you what they're asking you to do, and initially you're a wee bit apprehensive about it, but it's a bit of fun.
It is. Do you play ice hockey?
Ice hockey.
Well, yours is of you. Oh no, is that American football?
I thought it was American football.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's it. I played and coached American football before. Yeah, and that was the sort of Stuart, who was the photographer. That was his in, and he wanted me to do that. But that bit was fine. But if you look kind of closer at the photo as to what I'm standing in front of, that was the kind of weird bit, because there's two guys at either side of me, and. It was fun though. But yeah, so that was his day. I played American football for a couple of years, coached since 2007 or something. It's a sport I love. And that was the concept behind that one. There's another one of John Neal that I'm not entirely sure what his thought process was of that. But John was up for getting tied up, so there you go.
I love Lorraine's photo, actually, of her on that bike. That's the second time she's done a bike one, though. Was there not another one where they're flying down Bath Street on a bike?
That's it. The first one, and that was a sort of reinvention of that. So the first one was Lorraine pedalling down Bath Street in front of her old office. And the shot they took, I think Stuart was actually lying out on Bath Street, stopping traffic to take it. So obviously we've kind of moved office, and that was the reinvention of the old shot. And obviously, Lorraine's hugely into cycling. So again, it's just sort of capturing that.
That is good. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it's difficult in business because people don't see your personality. They just see email, corporate and things like that. So no, I think that's really good. In fact, to be fair, we have a photo shoot coming up in CPL shortly. Jack's organising it with a photographer that I've used before, actually. She lives in the Lake District. and Jack's trying to come up with some weird and wonderful stuff to do on photographs. So we'll see what we come up with. So
the best thing to do is what I've always found, and we've obviously I look after a lot of the sort of marketing side of our business as well, and I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of very creative people. And as much as you have a bit of input, I've always found that if you give them a bit of a free rein, the things they come up with are just spectacular. And believe it or not, these type of photos I think are much easier than your boring corporate headshot where you turn your shoulders and look at the camera, because it's not natural. Whereas these ones, you do actually surprisingly feel relaxed. And photographers just kind of by definition are very creative anyway. So I would just say, you've got a free rein. I'd love to see what you're going to come up with, Bryan.
Yeah, I'd love to know what was going through anyone's head with Ross Moffat eating a bowl of Google Pops. But anyway, we'll leave that one in the air.
Ross is big in cereal, that's what it is.
Is that right? Okay. So you've spent quite a bit of time in the industry, spanning almost 3 full decades. I can't believe I said I'd known you practically since you started. I think we did meet in 1998, actually.
Yeah.
What was the industry like when you first entered it?
Do you know what's funny? And it is weird when you look back, and 3 decades sounds extremely scary. But when I came into property management factoring, I had no idea what it was. I kind of came out of college, wasn't sure what I was doing. I think I had a part-time job, can't remember. Went for an interview at a company and got the job. Office junior at that point, doing estate agency, which was fun. Kind of learned some stuff, did some strange things, like I was actually talking about it to a colleague today. We advertised in local newspapers, like the Evening Times and stuff, and part of my role was to cut out the adverts from the newspaper and sort of glue it to a board that we had. Shows you how long ago that was, but like that, moved through to what was residential management at the time, and then some commercial management, then got the opportunity, that was there for like 2 years, got the opportunity to move up to what was Speirs Gumley at the time. And as I said, no real clue what factoring was at the time, but you learn a lot. Back then there was so much paper. That's what I remember. It was just paper. You had to handwrite your orders. They were on a sort of duplicate book. You then had to write them up in a wee card every night. So many letters. And ping pong memos. I don't know if you ever remember the ping pong memos that used to sort of bounce about the office. So it was probably old fashioned. I think we had 2 computers serving the whole office at the time. And then obviously you came in and sort of revamped the whole thing, and that's been a journey in itself. Yeah, it is. So I think it's probably an industry that's always been seen as maybe a bit old-fashioned, because obviously factoring, you're going back to the old sort of rent collectors and stuff, and as much as it's absolutely modernised and so far removed from that, I think even back then it was old guys in grey suits, but thankfully we've moved on from there. You mean you're not old and you don't have a grey suit? I prefer navy, and I'm feeling old now that you've pointed out. I've been in this industry for nearly 30 years, so... Because I wrote my first factoring prompt in 98, so I remember that. I remember it well when I was a developer. So and how's Speirs Gumley changed over that time as well? So from there to now? Well, that's the thing. Thinking back about it, and obviously we have known each other and worked quite closely together for, since must be 98. And I remember the change where we did move from, as I said, it was an old I think it was an old Sage system that we maybe had. It was predominantly accounts based. You came in and obviously we needed a bespoke property management system, and you essentially, I think, coded and built that, and it's now obviously developed into what I think is recognised as the biggest and best, I'll blow your trumpet here, Bryan, system in property management in Scotland. And that's been an amazing evolution to be part of. From those days working up in Bath Street, having to transfer all the old ledgers, you're there too. I know you and Lorraine were, constant on it, but I know there's a couple of all-nighters, I remember. So, Lorraine tells quite a funny story about how she introduced you to the office ghost. That you probably remember. You might still be scarred from it. I don't know.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. So and obviously there's myself, Arlene, Tracy, and Ross, who've all pretty. It's weird. We all started within a couple of months of each other, and we're all still here. And I remember loads of late nights. Making that transfer, and that's been such a huge change for us. That I've seen obviously over the course of time being here. There's obviously been people changes in the office, a name change where we went from Speirs Parney to Speirs Gumley, but I think the biggest change for me has been moving office. You've obviously seen both of them. There's Bath Street, where I think the company were there for 30 years. I was there 23, 24. It was a huge part of my life, kind of basically grew up there. And it was a bit of an issue. There was that sort of trepidation when we spoke about, was it time to move and what we were looking for. And coming from being a city centre based company to move into the outskirts of the city, it was a big decision. And, there was loads of things to take into consideration. Accessibility for clients and things as well. But it's been absolutely fantastic for us. We've got this stunning office that really suits the way we want to build as a team. Everybody's accessible. It's completely open plan. But that was a massive change for me personally. But I'm really glad it happened, and it's I'm really seeing the benefits of it.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it's that I grew up in an old kind of Victorian house in the middle of a town or a village, and and you guys were much the same. Although you have had big rooms and that big room out the back, there was a lot of smaller rooms and stuff like that, and open plan just gives you the sense of belonging and being together and everything like that. We have CPL have a kind of something that I've been used to. We did have some open plan, actually. We were in an open plan office for a while, and then we're now in kind of 2 or 3 rooms in over in Park. And I have to say that given my preference, I'd go back to open plan with a couple of meeting rooms just for privacy, because it really, I don't know, I think it's difficult to build a good culture, and we'll come on to that later on, but difficult to build a good culture if you're in totally separate offices. In fact, my other business, Insight Legal, has a fabulous office down in his head office in Farnborough. It's all open plan. There's a couple of meeting rooms that you can duck into so that for specific meetings, but everyone's in the same room, but with a bit like I'm still looking at Ross with Cocoa Pops, which is actually scarring me now. But I see you've got some partition kind of things, but not only just for noise, probably.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. I mean, exactly like you say there, in terms of just working with a team. The whole place, as good as it was, and it's such a beautiful building. It was the old, I think, Lord Provost house. And it's a fabulous building, and even the company that are in it now, it looks great. I've passed it a few times, so it was a great building. As I said, just part of my life growing up. But the big problem was, we were over from basement to attic, over I think it was 5 floors, and you could go days without seeing some of your colleagues because obviously we worked, the different sort of facets of the business. It wasn't uncommon not to see people, and then you'd bump into someone you hadn't seen for a few days. You worked together. Which now just obviously doesn't happen. Everyone is together, and it's completely open to the point where we don't actually have any doors in this office, other than the fire doors in and out. There's the office itself, a couple of partitions, but it is completely open, and it's great for the team, great for interaction, and great for the just atmosphere as well. Together with loads of breakout space, we encourage that as well, where people just need a bit of time to either work on something or just to have some space or a bit of time to think. And there's so many places in here to do that. And there's a real wow factor in this office as well, where so many people that come in are actually blown away by the office, which is great. And it's just a really good place to work.
Yeah, I think so. I think that certainly, I mean, my generation, we were used to just the office being the office. You know what I mean? But nowadays, with Gen Z, is that what they're called? Gen Z.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So young. Just people coming into work. the working kind of work environment, they're looking for so much more, and they don't want to be in a dingy bloody back room, with no air conditioning, no light, no fresh air, and these sort of things. So I think giving people the environment and the in which to work, in some respects, could be better than money. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you spend the majority of your time in your work. During the Monday to Friday, you spend more time with your colleagues and your work environment than you do with your family. So making it a nice place to be is a great benefit for your staff.
Absolutely. I mean, I as I said, I love the old office, but if you think of that back room, there was, I think, 6 windows downstairs on the back wall, and it looked into a lane, Circuit Hole Lane, so it wasn't the best view. There was no air, we had air conditioning, but there's that, anybody that works in an office, it'll be the constant struggle where it's either too cold or too warm, and you've got or don't have the air conditioning on. Whereas you come here and having light and air makes an incredible difference to your day. Something that's so simple, but I probably didn't appreciate it before, because you just, like you say, it's just the office, you just get used to it. But here, and even obviously this week, where it's been warm, to say the least, the difference it makes to be able to pretty much open every window. We've obviously got a huge balcony that we can open that. People can come and go, and the view we have over Glasgow is fantastic as well. No, it's fab. So aside from the Property Factors Act, has there been a change in the industry during your time that's had a significant impact on your role? There's been loads. Regulations is probably the obvious one, where there's so many different things you're having to deal with that we probably didn't have to in the past, and you have to make sure you're compliant, and that's, I'm not going to say it's easy, there's a lot of work involved in that, but that's something obviously you have to be on top of. Probably now, if you're looking at certainly new build properties and different facilities developers are putting into properties, and what clients want now in terms of like media, the introduction of I'll use Sky as an example. With initially it was just a Sky Dish, and then they upgraded that, and now we're Sky Q, and now they're looking again at different distributions for that. We're dealing now with super fast broadband, where that's something that is having to be a lot of new builds are getting it installed, but obviously we're having to sort of retrofit it to a lot of buildings, and it's fantastic. Everybody wants it. I have it. Lately, obviously, you have it as well, Brian, whereas having to introduce that to blocks of flats can be quite, there's a lot involved in it, but the good thing is we've always had good relationships with people who are involved in the different industries, and we've always found we tend to be a wee bit kind of ahead of the curve, I think, where we're trying to think, what's going to happen in 1, 5, 10 years time, and we have really good relationships with the providers of these facilities. So more often than not, it goes quite smoothly. But you're seeing so many different things being introduced to properties, and certainly now, as I said, with new media, even door entry systems, which used to just be your kind of old phone handset, and now you can let people into your building via your mobile phone, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you obviously, in your industry and what you do, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of this sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of, I guess, research into these sort of things as well, to see how, really to just bring it all together, I guess. And, certainly the next 12 months is going to be one of the big things for us is kind of BI reporting and dashboards for our clients, so they can see a huge amount of information. But that's not just from our system. You can then drag information from a whole load of other systems as well, and present that to people. So I mean, innovation, IT, and the way things have moved is phenomenal over the last kind of 30 years.
I mean, that's one of the things I'm most proud of is when we introduced an app, and I think we were the sort of first in our industry to do that, and it was very simple. We looked at what do people want. People are obviously on the move now. They don't necessarily want, or they don't even necessarily have the capabilities to phone when we are open, or when, during normal business hours. So
Sure.
we delivered, we worked with a company and we delivered an app that has really, really worked over a number of years. As I said, it's really simple. You just look at what do people want out there, and how do they want to contact us.
Yeah, sure.
And it's been, I spent a lot of time on that, and it's been really, really, really good and really effective. But again, that was 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It's now moved on even more, and you're looking at what's out there, and you're speaking to software companies. In terms of our website, had a lot of involvement in our website, and the capabilities of websites these days are just incredible. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be part of something like that, and obviously dealing with you guys on a daily basis and all the developments we're seeing in CPL. And again, I can appreciate it even more from, it's only probably recently I've been able to call it CPL, because it was GB2, for quite a while, which probably not many people will understand out with this conversation. But taking it back to obviously the very first software system we had from you, and as I said before, the journey we've been on to see what it's become, it's been great.
Yeah, no, understood. So we spoke to Lorraine recently about leadership and culture at Speirs Gumley, and she told us about the team focus in your office. Can you share your perspective on the culture and how you as a leader contribute to that?
That's the thing where it's a word that's thrown about so much. I think culture and leadership, and it's very easy to just use them as buzzwords. And I don't think culture's like beanbag chairs and pizzas on a Friday and stuff. I think it's basically like Lorraine has said, and what we try to it's about being a team. It's about having the same values, make sure people are feeling valued, they have a voice, they'll listen to, and everyone's working together. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have here, where we are a team. Everybody looks out for each other, we support each other, and that, even looking at our office, how our office is designed, it is completely open, everybody's accessible, and everybody has a part to play in it. When we bring people in, if we have new staff that come in from within the industry or out with the industry, from all different walks of life, I think the biggest surprise they have is just how accessible everybody is, and how much everybody works together. You've known Lorraine for a long time, and you know that she's very much about that sort of family business is what she's always wanted to sort of deliver. And I think we have that, because it is about working together. Nobody should feel alone or on their own. Everybody's got an opportunity to express their ideas. And I think, I've been lucky enough since from a young boy right up to now, where I've either been part of, it's all about sports for me. I've either played in teams or I've coached teams, and I've seen the team ethic, and it's always the best performing teams are the ones that care about each other. They're there for each other and they support each other. Nobody's ever on their own. And I think that's what we have here, and I think that's the culture we build and we value.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think you're right. I mean, culture. People talk about culture and say, I've stuck our values on the wall. We deal with that every day we walk in. But it's massively more than that. And the one thing to me is that you should spend as much time on your people and your culture as you do on the day-to-day business of making money and executing. You know what I mean? Yeah. It should be something you spend equal amounts of time on, and I don't think many people can honestly put their hands up and say that they do. But you know what I mean? And even getting close to that is absolutely fabulous. So
yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's the thing in here where, and it's probably that you want to. Obviously, you need to analyse things, and you have to look at things you've done and maybe things you could do better, or mistakes you've made, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen again, or how do we improve it. But actually, celebrate what you have, and celebrate your wins as well, because it's probably something we could do more of, admittedly, where we have big achievements. We do a lot of big things here, whether that be something that's happened with the staff, or having a major repair scheme done. We've had developments where there's work's been carried out, over £1 million. It's taken so much to actually get funding in for it, get all the owners together, and it's huge projects, and they're incredible, and you see the end result, and it is genuinely because of what we do, and it is something we just don't look after bricks and mortars. We look after people's homes, and you have to care about that. And I think that certainly comes from Lorraine, and it's all the way through the company where we actually care about what we're doing, and we care about the people we work with. And like you say, the best way to deliver a good service to your clients is to have happy staff. Yeah. Look after your people, have everybody together. You'll absolutely see the benefits of that on the other side.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're building a great culture in there. Yeah. So a topic that often comes up in this podcast, and I'd love to get your view on it, and that is the need to educate flat buyers and flat owners, or people buying property that has common areas, of what their responsibilities are and what the role of the factor is. Do you agree with that? And if so, what do you think about it?
I'm not sure educate's the right word. I think making people aware of the responsibilities, but that comes probably way before they've even bought the property. Yeah. And there has been changes afoot over the past few years where historically you would see people coming in, they had no idea who the factor was or that they even had a factor. Then the first thing is maybe a notification of an introductory letter, which certainly we do, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. And you would get a phone call saying, who are you and what are you talking about? So it has to start probably way before, in terms of, don't think your obligations in terms of a property is just your mortgage and your council tax. You have to be thinking, you have to budget. That's the big thing. Because certainly the world's going at the moment, and cost of living and so on, and there's not a lot of spare funds for people. Before making such a commitment to a property, you have to be aware of a wee bit further down the line, you could be looking at additional maintenance costs, which could be something even just like redecorating the property, to something a bit more significant. If we do need to look at a new roof, if there is going to be major stonework repairs, you have to budget for that, and you have to look ahead. There's been something that's been kicking about property management for a whole number of years in terms of looking at I think building MOT is essentially what we've always been trying to, and PMAS have been banging that drum for a number of years. I think the penny's dropping a lot of places, and it might be something we see where people need to be thinking ahead. You do it for your cars, you do it for other things where you're proactive about it. So it should be something, let's look at my property. What am I going to have to be considering here in 3, 5, 10 years' time?
Yeah. No, I get you. Actually, we interviewed Annie Flint on here a number of months ago. Yeah. And one of the things that she said was that she wanted to see the home report actually grow a bit more to actually talk about the common areas, because that's the now, whether you agree with that or don't agree with that, it would certainly mean that homeowners got a view of something other than that square in the building that they're actually buying.
Yeah, because they don't. I mean, that's the thing. You don't just buy if you're in common property. You don't just buy like you say the box inverted commas that you're living in. It is your staircase, it's your roof, it's your gardens, and there could be areas you don't even see. Particularly with modern housing developments, most now will have play areas in them. Yeah, and it could be quite a distance away from where your property is. You might not have kids, you might not ever have to use it, but you have a liability towards it, and you have a liability to maintain it and ultimately pay for it. So I think it's one of these things where it's probably slowly changing a wee bit. I think I would really like it to move a lot faster, because it would make things a lot easier for people, because there is a point where people are coming in and they just don't realise what they've committed to. Yeah. And that can be a real problem.
Yeah, I think the one that I think catches a lot of people out that I didn't mention that well, maybe slightly, is the downsizers. The people who have owned a 5-bed house in in a street or whatever size house in the street for 30 years. The street was adopted by the council. They don't even know what a property factor is. And then, they move into a development. They bought another house. They moved into a development. And then suddenly there's a factor who's then, because it's not adopted, and the factor needs to look after the grass. I think these guys, I was having a conversation with someone, I can't remember who it was and where it was, but it was a person in industry. I think she maybe was an accountant or something like that, and I mentioned what I did for a living, and said to me that, I've been paying this company for years, and then some work needed done, and they asked me to pay for it, and it's like, it's not a charity, you know what I mean? So I do think that there's there's definite, I mean, whether you call it educational awareness, there's definitely a need for people to understand more what happens, and that, you're right, that needs to happen pre, them actually signing missives. They need to understand what they're getting themselves into.
And it's something that, particularly in Glasgow, and I remember having a conversation with David Doran and David Reid about it. I think we were part of a focus group or something, but looking at the sort of tenement stock in the city, where Glasgow has so many stunning buildings, absolutely phenomenal architecture, historic buildings throughout the city, and a lot of them are being allowed to deteriorate for probably a lack of funding, maybe not a lack of will, but if you're approaching a group of homeowners and asking for a significant sum of money, it can take a while. And in the meantime, obviously the building is is deteriorating. Good. Obviously, we have a really great relationship with Glasgow City Council. Their sort of funding schemes are fantastic, but it's not a infinite pot of money. So these things, we have to look ahead in these things and think, what is this city going to be like in 5, 10, 20 years' time? And how do we look at maybe stopping that rot, so that these buildings don't get to the point where the cost of maintaining is just out with the reach of your normal homeowner.
No, you're right. I actually, just one more thing before we get on to Jack's 3 quirky questions, which I'm really looking forward to, by the way. I always remember when I was looking for a flat with Sarah, who and we walked up to the front of a building, and she's obviously she's a commercial property manager, but or by trade anyway. She doesn't do that anymore. But and we were standing outside this flat, looking at this building, and I was like, "Oh, it's a cracking looking building." And she looked at the top and said, "There's 3 trees growing out of the gutters at this building." So it's an instant kind of red flag as to how is that building being looked after? Is that building not being looked after? Yeah. And something, I would never even have thought about it. I'd never even have thought about it. And we walked away from it actually, and I've heard since that there's from people who we knew living there that there's been there was neglect of that building, and if you just spend the money when you're as you're going, it's far cheaper in the long run than the bill to repair the deterioration.
It's like prevention. Better than cure, and that's the thing where. And we do that. Obviously, you've had the benefit of having Sarah's eye on that. Although, considering you've worked with this industry for nearly 30 years, I'm disappointed you didn't notice a tree in the gutter. But we do that, and it's just habit. And I'm sure every property manager does it, where you're just driving about or walking about, and you just clock things on buildings. It's just force of habit now, I think.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Right, well, that's been great. Thanks for answering my questions.
No, you can keep going, because I'm not really looking forward to this.
Jax can come and ask our 3 quirky questions.
Yes, a little lighter note to finish the podcast. That's been really good listening to you both chat away there. So what's your biggest failure across your career, Bryan, so far, and what did you learn from it?
This is probably a tricky one, because there's been so many, because you just make mistakes and that's what happens. And I'm anticipating there's probably going to be quite a few before I finish up as well. There's probably been quite a lot in this podcast, so you've got a bit of editing to do here. Nothing specific. I remember way back in the day where I was really busy, or I thought I was really busy, under a lot of stress, and I had these, going back to when everything was paper driven, and you had to post out your own mail. And I remember I just didn't get around to it, and this mail had sort of been building up, and then I thought I can't send this out, and I started Tipex the dates out on the mail, and and it was very stupid of me. Thankfully, someone pointed it out, and that didn't go out. Those didn't go out with Tipex on it, and I had them reprinted. But that sort of helped me learn time management at that point, and not to let things build up and actually trying to, you see that that picture of someone trying to juggle loads of plates and then the plates come crashing down. Mm-hmm. Quickly learn you can't do that. You focus on a job and get it done and then move on to the next one. There was a couple of other things that I thought of as well. It was before I was involved in property management. I was at college. I did marketing in college, which I really loved, but I had an opportunity to go on another course, which was film and media, and it wasn't something it was something I was really interested in, but wasn't something I had sort of qualifications to get into. But my tutor at the time pulled a few strings and got the opportunity to go on that course, and I thought about it and then didn't do it. Oh. And it's something I don't necessarily regret it now, because obviously I've had a really good career and I really enjoy what I'm doing now. But looking back on it, it was a real fear factor at that point, because it was something I was interested in, but I probably was just too scared to just take that leap and just go and do it. And that is something that stuck with me, and it's now got to the point where I've since done so many different things because I just took the chance. Some have worked out, some have been great, and some haven't. But actually just doing it and not regretting it, because regardless of whether I failed or I had a good outcome, at least I've done it. I tried it, and I'm very much at that mindset now. And by having that mindset, I've had a lot of different things. Certainly, I've used it in my career, which has been great. But even out with my career, some of the things I've been able to achieve have been fantastic, and I'm really, have that attitude now where it's better to have tried it and failed than not tried it at all.
Yeah, excellent. So when's your film and media course starting then?
Funnily enough, from what I've done, I've been lucky enough to do a lot of sort of media work. I've done some stuff with BBC. I was lucky enough to do some writing with some people, and had some things on TV, had some things on radio, wrote a couple of shows for the Edinburgh Festival. So that's been great, sort of extracurricular stuff. Nice. And it's brilliant to be a part of, because it is, and it's one of the things you just, again, it's one of these things Brian's probably big on as well, do what you love. And that is I've got lots of different passions, and I like doing these things, because again, I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done that, because there is that one that sticks in my head, and I don't want there to be a second one. Yeah,
cool, nice. Good advice. So if you ruled the world for a day, what would you do?
I was going to say something really deep and meaningful here, but there's probably no point, because we'd all come up with the same things. But I'd ban the snooze button, because it's something I've never. I can't get my head around it, where it does nothing. I've never known anyone to go, I had a 9-minute snooze and I feel great, let's take on the world. It's just, so yeah, I definitely do that. I get up early in the morning. I'm very much a morning person. I get up, there's things I do, and then I get, I go to the gym in the morning and then come into work, and it's great. It sets me up for the whole day. I'm not going to say, I bounce out of bed every morning and then, put a cheerleader outfit on. It's just something I'm able to do. I usually don't, I've set an alarm, but usually I'm awake before it, so I think the body clock's just sort of in tune to it now. But yeah, people that snooze and then they snooze again and then they keep snoozing, and it's just pointless because it makes them feel worse. So yeah, if you need to set an alarm to get up in the morning, set it at a time that you're actually going to get up, and then just get up and do things. Yeah.
Cool, nice one. So finally, Brian, when you are 70 and you look back at your life, what will you be glad you did or feel proud of? Something you've either done already or something that you still want to do?
I've been really lucky, and I think that's something that everybody should be, be grateful for everything. And looking back, I've had a really good career. I've worked with some really great people. I've met so many good people. So I'm really happy with where I am just now and everything I've achieved. And, I've got, despite the whole 30 years in the industry thing, I've still got a good bit ahead of me, I think, where there was a lot of things I want to do. But I think probably the thing I'm probably most proud of is how how I interact with people and how I treat people, because that's what you get back. Just be kind, and that's something that I'm probably most proud of. As cheesy as that might sound, I think it's got me a long way, and because of that, I've met loads of good people, have really good relationships with people, and I think that will stand me in good stead as retirement comes looming over the horizon.
Oh, hang on. Jesus, you're only in your early 50s, man.
I'm like, don't you start mid-40s?
Are you? Right, okay. So you're not as old as me then.
No.
And I'm not even thinking about retirement yet. So anyway, although I'm definitely slowing down. Never mind.
How's your golf going? Is that what that's?
Okay, so well, let's not talk about that, because I have played literally one game of golf this year. So I'm not going to tell you how much that is a round I'm on at the moment. And the only reason I actually went and played was because it was a tie and I had to play, and because you can't not turn up for a tie. And my next one is on Wednesday next week, so I need to turn up for that. So if I lose, I may not play another game this year, which is just, it's just time. It's mad, and I need to get far better at time management.
And that's the thing. See, I'm not into golf at all, so it's not something I connect with. But I'm a huge sports fan, and that's something where, if you finding the time to do things that you love, you should definitely do it. And you know that, Brian, and everybody knows that. Where you just, time's there for the things that you really want to do. So, although I'm super impressed, you've only played one game and won it. So, you need to keep the streak up next week.
100%. It's not normally very common for me in a season of golf. Anyway. Right, brilliant. That's been excellent having you on. Thank you. It's been great to talk to you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, man. Thank you.
Thanks.